Welcome to video number 3. In front of you are the tools required. We have our 5/8 spark plug wrench. We have a 10mm wrench. And then we have an 8mm socket. And then of course our safety glasses. This is video number 3 for the 130G32 Briggs & Stratton engine. This is about where we should be, where we have a lot of the stuff removed, and we're just going to finish removing everything else from governor arm, speed control bracket, our spark plug and blower housing, and all that. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. First, what we're going to be doing is taking the speed control bracket off. Now it's important, don't mess with anything other than what we're taking off, okay? What we're gonna be doing is we're taking off 2 8mm screws, right here and right here. Before we do that, I need you guys to take a picture of the speed control bracket and then take a picture of where this red wire is going. Take a picture of how it is routed, where it goes, what it plugs into, all that, okay? Once you guys have done that, go ahead and take off the speed control bracket. It's just 2 screws. Loosen that up. And remember, this red wire goes on this screw when we get to assembling it. Okay, so take this red wire off, set down our screws to the side, take our other screw off. Once we have those 2 screws undone, try not to have it fall like mine did. Mine just fell behind the blower housing, but it's all right, we'll get to it. You can take this off. Now what we haven't done yet is removed this spring right here. This is connected to our governor arm, and now that we have this unscrewed, we can just easily take that off. But take a picture and remember, how'd this wire go in? How'd this spring go in? It had this hoop on the back side. It went through the front, okay? So remember that, have a picture of it to keep that known. I went ahead, put that screw back with the wire on here just to remember where it was. I'm gonna do the same thing right there once I grab my screw. That way I don't forget where they went. Now we're gonna remove the governor control lever. We gotta be careful with this one. We don't want to mess anything up, because how this turns and all that, we gotta make sure it stays the same. Governor controls how the engine runs and make sure it runs smoothly, okay? So basically right here, this lever is just pinched on there with this nut. What we want to do is we don't want to take this all the way off. We just want to loosen it so it can slide up. Make sure we loosen it, not tighten it. Okay, so now mine's pretty loose there. Let's see if we can just slide that up. If not, we're gonna get something to carefully wedge in there. I'm gonna keep loosening it just a little bit. But basically, we're gonna wedge something in between there. Let's see if you can see it better. In between these 2 and pry it apart just a little bit. I'm gonna grab a pair of needle nose pliers. Or a flathead screwdriver. I think a flathead would work better. I'm just gonna press it down in there and wiggle it around. Try to pry it apart. when we get to this in class, you might need to ask me for help if I have the only screwdriver that fits nicely. We don't want to overdo it. So that's really tight, but it's sliding off. So just pull up on it. So all we're taking off is this. Do not remove anything down here. This pin stays on. This stays on. Do not remove that. This comes off. This stays screwed together. Keep all of our springs and stuff intact. Set that to the side. Our next step is we're going to be removing this spark plug. For that we need the 5/8 spark plug socket, and I like to have an extension on there. And I'm just gonna untwist it. It's loosened a little bit, but it's very important with the spark plug that we do not put too much pressure side to side like this. We need to stay straight and just twist. If we end up pressing too much one direction, you run the risk of breaking that spark plug, and then we gotta buy a new one. So when we take the spark plug out, carefully unscrew it, okay? Carefully, do not press too much in one direction. If you guys are struggling, ask your partner or get my help with that. Our next step is we're going to be removing our rewind starter, our pull cord right here, okay? And for that, we have 3 8mm screws, one right here, and one on the bottom. So let's go ahead and undo that. And get all 3 of those out. Now we have the rewind starter off here. I went ahead and put the screws back in just so we don't lose them, but this is what it looks like on the inside. Pull it, and then some springs come out, which grab onto here and turn our engine. And that's how it gets started. So there's that. I've had to replace these before on like snow blowers and other stuff, because it's just something that over time the cord gets broken, cut, ripped, and it's like need a new one. So that's that. Our next step is we're going to be removing the blower housing. And this, we have 8mm socket again. We got 4 screws around here, okay? So go ahead and just loosen those up. Get all 4 of your bolts loose, and then stop, and then wait 1 second for me to get mine done. Okay, all right. Once you've gotten this done and taken off, you'll notice it doesn't just slide out. There's something else in there that's keeping it connected. What we have is a switch. You got the wires in there. So what we need to do, go ahead and look at those wires, take a picture, move it out a little bit, and get a good picture of where the wires go. Okay? Once you do that, go ahead and remove them. You'll use some pliers and pull them out, and then you can take the blower housing off. Now that I got the blower housing off and undone, I just want you guys to note how are these wires ran. The wires are ran across the back, across here, behind this, no, not in here, but behind here, and then behind your spark plug wire. The reason for that is if it was in here and routed just right in here, you can get all caught up in here and break those wires and your engine won't run. So that's that, once you get those unplugged. Our next step is we're removing the cylinder air guide. You got one right here, and you got one on this side that we're gonna be taking off. But we're first gonna take this one off, okay? So you have one screw there that came off with our blower housing. And you got one on this side right here, and then you got one right there. So we'll go ahead and undo those, take the blower housing off. The air guide, sorry, not the blower housing. There you go. That one's loose. This will finger tighten those things off. Then our air guide will come off. And then again, put your screws back in the hole. We don't want screws missing, rolling around on the floor. Because these ones are shorter than the other ones, because the other ones were for the blower housing. So put them back in the right hole. So got that off, and then this over here is our finger guard. This has got the plugs, so we need to remove these plugs from each other. Just pull them apart. And remember, this one doesn't plug into anything, but this one plugs into the other one. Okay, so we can leave those, and then we can take off this bolt. We're taking this one only. Leave this one alone. That lets all this stuff come up and out. This is also connected to our magneto, which we'll talk about in a later video. So this will be connected right here. So just leave this over here. And then put your screws back in the holes. This is the end of video number 3. We removed all of our blower housing, and then our air guides, our spark plug, and part of our governor and speed control. And that's where we're at the end of this video. The next video we'll get into removing this stuff over here, part of our head gasket, and then move on from there.